window rolling up, Uber black Cadillac, high heel boots, and a sexy body full of
Gotcha.
tats.
Yeah, so anyways, let's go. I guess we can just go ahead and get started here. Don't waste too much time. Guys, welcome back to the Now You Made It Awkward podcast, episode number 56, I believe. It's been a while since we recorded one, so I actually have to check. So the last time we actually recorded was when we recorded live in Maryland. And actually, I have one of those people here with me, and it is Alan.
Alan?
Alan?
Oh, where's Ricky with that rhythm?
No.
Listen, Ricky.
No, I can't take the both of you again at the same time. It's pretty bad. That's what she said.
Live and in person.
Yes, live and in person. That was, I mean, while as fun as that was, it was also fraught with issues, as you would hear if you heard episode 55, where you can't hear Ricky. But he's surprisingly loud enough that he came across. But then there's even a short section, if you're listening to it, where my audio cuts out because I accidentally muted myself. I didn't mean to. I clicked the wrong button, so I muted my own mic.
We did. We muted him.
So that means your microphone was the only one picking us up while we were talking. So like somehow, even though you were talking low for us, your audio was apparently set up perfect, and like everything else was screwed up. So just
what can I say?
Incidentally, it came out fine for the first time ever recording in person. But anytime you're using like USB mics, you're always going to run into some issues when trying to get the setups correct. So I'm going to have to figure that out in the future. So also, guys, for those who are new here, I am SHOKY. I didn't introduce myself, but I introduced Alan. Don't. SHOKY. Don't. Don't.
All right, that's it.
Yeah, please don't. That is such a huge pain in my ass to have to edit that much shit.
Last time was hilarious.
No, it wasn't because like no joke. Like, okay, so I had to create my own sound drop for that to bleep you guys. But like no joke, it took me an hour and a half to edit that stupid ass episode because it was so annoying. But either way, what was I going to say?
That's so funny.
Oh, so want to say hi to the patrons who are watching this. Hopefully, hello, because they can see us on video. They can see Alan's lovely afterglow there behind him. He's got the beautiful halos, behind him.
Let's fix that.
Yeah.
Pull down the old curtains.
I was gonna say it's actually kind of a cool look, because it's got the light bleed, which actually looks pretty cool. Like people don't understand that cameras work that way sometimes when the light hits at the right angle. And it looks neat.
I'll leave it. You can still hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I'm just fixing something in a different room.
It's fine. I got to do some water here. I'm dying.
You got to do some water? Yeah, it's a day/night for water.
Yes.
That's what I'm doing. I'm getting a drink.
And
staying hydrated.
Yeah, I've been
I am very
beer.
red.
Yes, you are very red. You like I'm orangey from like you can probably a little too bright, but
up your arm.
I'm trying to. That's just a crease from leaning on the desk.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, because that's where I lean whenever I'm doing recordings and such. But like I'm kind of orangey, which means I've been getting tan. But actually, I got some cooling sleeves in today. They're just the ones the like neoprene polyester type sleeves. So if you get them cool, like they'll be breathy, but keep the sun off you.
Mm-hmm.
So because they said they got some
on Amazon.
Huh? Yeah, I got them on Amazon. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently, if you spend a certain amount of money on certain products, they'll just ship it to you like as fast as fucking possible. Sometimes it's same day shipping if you catch it early enough. But I ordered them in the afternoon, so they came early today. Like normally, Amazon drops off around, anywhere between 1 and 3. And they dropped it off at like 9 a.m. So
Amazon's quite fast in your country, though. For me, it's
sometimes
2 days. Well, yeah, like 3 days. I ordered something Monday. I was here today.
Well, what do they have? Like 5 drivers in Ireland? They got to cover the whole of the island. What? I'm just saying, like compared to Texas, like we're talking about Houston, is like I would love no joke. I would love to see like the whole of geography of Ireland compared to some of the major cities in Houston, or not Houston, but in the U.S. to actually see that. Because I made a joke one time. I had a friend lived in the UK, and she was talking shit. I was like, bitch, your island like will fit in my state like I don't even know like 100 times. It's like don't talk shit, and this is after she had already visited us for like
Where
6
where in
months.
the UK was she? Was she from Wales?
No, she was not from Wales, which I now know where Wales is. That was a legitimate thing. Like I was not faking that. That was legit ignorance as to where Wales was. Like the funny thing is, like I had the rest of the UK like kind of oriented correctly, but like Wales just never made sense in my mind. It's like I know where Scotland is, I know where Dover is, I know where Ireland is. Where's Wales? and like you said, it's the belly kind of thing, So
Yeah,
no, that was legit. That was legit ignorance in that. But I mean, Ricky at some point
not the
did
first.
think, but Ricky did think that the Republic of
Oh,
Ireland was part of the UK at some point. It is not. It's a trick.
We wore a long time ago. But
Yeah.
who was it? Was it you or him that said there was a bridge? You thought there was a bridge.
Oh no, that was okay. So to explain what I said there was and it may have been going into like a specific city or something like that, but in Torchwood, in the first episode of Torchwood, Gwen is going from Wales, or at least she says she's in Wales, and what is the capital there?
Wales.
What is the main?
Cardiff.
Yeah. So that's where most Doctor Who stuff was shot, right? So she was literally going. No, it was. So a lot of Doctor Who was shot, and Torchwood was shot in Cardiff specifically, and it was actually part of the show. And at some point, she's going across a bridge, talking on her car phone, and saying, "Wish me luck. I'm going into Britain, like proper." Like so, it's like I don't know what you meant by that. Like geographically, I have no idea what they were talking about. That's why I had that concept.
And maybe I could be wrong. I could be wrong with this.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's a big suspension bridge from around Bristol that you could be like Wales crosses a big valley because Wales is like full of valleys.
Yeah,
that's what they probably meant that they'd hit this bridge. It's huge. It's a big suspension bridge. If you saw it, you'd be like, "Oh, that's unique."
It could be honestly.
That's probably where that came from.
Okay, hold on. Let me go have a look.
I can't think. It's around Bristol.
But once again, I clearly don't know. Oh yeah, okay, yeah. So from Cardiff, yeah, I'm looking at it here. Yeah, there could easily be a bridge that goes essentially from that area over whatever this little small like that's the Bristol Channel. So that could make sense actually. It could be one of those. I see them right there. It's either M4, the M48 bridge.
Yeah, there's a big suspension bridge.
Yeah, so it could be either one of those, which would actually make sense. So I wasn't 100% wrong. It was just very specific geographically. Yeah, okay. And I don't know, and I guess that's why I thought Wales was an island, because I think they were always going, at any given point that I've seen it referred to, I've seen them cross, because I think even in Top Gear, if they visited, I think they were going from Bristol over, which means they were crossing a bridge, so that just gives the implication, if you don't know, that, it's across the water somewhere.
What Top Gear were you watching? Were you watching who were the
good
three presenters?
Good Top Gear, not anything since 2014. The original three:
Jeremy Clarkson,
May, and Hamster. Yes.
Yeah.
Dude, I talked a bunch of Top Gear with Sam while I was at the party.
The little gentleman.
Yes.
I wish I got to speak to him more.
Yeah, we're gonna have him on whenever we can manage, because obviously he's in a very similar time zone to you, so makes it a little difficult as well. Oh, and by the way, for anybody who's wondering why I have no other co-host today, that's a good question. The last 2 weeks, like no joke, sir, because we didn't have an episode last week, we weren't gonna have an episode this week. So literally, I reached out to Al and I'm like, "Hey, you got time?" Because, like, no joke, like, no one was available at all. Like, even Ricky's like, I can do, like, Friday afternoon, because I got nothing going on until RHP. And I'm like, okay, but Friday's when we drop the episode, So it's like I can't push 2 weeks of no episode. But also,
busy time.
yeah. So also, I've not been absent of podcast. I actually joined in on Dante, our now mutual friend Dante. I joined in on Off the Mats last week. In theory, he edited that yesterday. So, like he had such a busy fucking weekend. I think he said from Thursday to Sunday, I think he recorded 7 podcasts.
7.
7.
Off the mat.
Yeah.
The horror one. So you like horror?
And then Columpton Beer Club.
Oh, the beer club.
Yeah, so
no, I think it's just called Beer Club now. I think he dropped the Columpton.
No, Columpton's the main part of it. It was Columpton Social Club. They changed it from Social Club to Beer Club, so it's still Columpton Beer Club. Because that's the thing he and Steve have together, like their history growing up. They were on a local sports grouping, and it was called Columpton, which is a fusion of Columbia and Compton. So yeah, I've been listening to those shows, and then because he and I, from the conversation that we had at Skullstice, which by the way we have
that conversation.
well, not even just that one, because Dante and I talked a lot that day, like just in general. So after that conversation, which I still say will never see the light of day,
did he not send it to you?
No. I didn't think he would send it to me. I figured if he was going to put it anywhere, he put it up there. Actually, not to talk too much inside baseball. Apparently, the way that Bobby's software works is that it like just keeps recording. Like it'll pause, save that chunk as an individual file, but it'll keep recording. So whenever he sent y'all's episode that you guys recorded there late that night, apparently it had chunks of other episodes in it. Like, and he had to trim all that out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because he said it even had a chunk of the stuff that we're talking about. So, but either way, so we talked last. It was supposed to be last Tuesday, but then we had to move it to Wednesday because, or was it Thursday? Either way, we had to move it because he was like deathly ill, and then he was fine the next day.
He sent me a message. Sinuses or hay fever?
Something. I mean, he was already sick, like feeling pretty sick. He even called into work, and then even this last weekend, his lovely wife Sarah was sick. So I love that we're talking a whole bunch about somebody else's podcast. But the thing is, I'm like, so I lined you up yesterday to record today. But before that, Dante and I were already talking because we didn't get to have all of the conversation we wanted to have. So I'm recording with him tomorrow night as an extension of that Off the Mats. Oh, so nice. Like it'll be from this show, but it'll be a continuation of that episode's conversation because we talked for like 3 hours. It's really, really easy to talk with Dante.
Yeah, Dante's a sound lad.
So we'll be hearing from him pretty shortly, and I'm excited about that because the conversation we're going to have is going to like talk about time travel and all kinds of crazy scientific nonsense. He told me. So coincidentally, he's told me about movies he was going to be watching this week, and that's when we had already discussed going ahead and recording, and they happen to be time travel movies. So I watched one of them. We'll just get into my week real quick here. It's called Primer. It's from like 2004. It's a little independent movie. It's only like an hour and 17 minutes or something like that. It's a pretty short movie. And
any names? Like
no big names at all. The only reason that this guy is known at all is because he went on to do which was it? He helped on another time travel movie. Oh, he helped on Looper. He was brought in on the movie Looper to help figure out some of the time travel stuff because he apparently had one of the more comprehensive takes on practical time travel, as it were.
That was Hayden Christensen was in Looper, wasn't he?
No, that's Jumper.
No.
Yeah.
No, I don't think
not the same movie. No, Looper was the time travel assassin movie with Bruce Willis and what's his face? He's got Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Okay. Yes.
So
yes.
That's where they could go back in time and kill people ahead of time, but then also if if they were discovered in the past, they could be getting tortured and everything like that. And in real time, you'd see them like losing their limbs as they get cut off in the past and stuff. It's a crazy movie. So, but this
I
particular
remember
movie,
vaguely.
yeah, it's a weird one. I've never seen the whole thing, but I've seen a lot of stuff about it. But so I did watch the one I said, I forgot, Primer, which actually the name I don't understand. It doesn't seem to have anything to do with it, but maybe it was just one of the things they talked about in the ridiculous sci-fi stuff they spouted in that movie. It's really low budget, like really low budget, but there's like
Set in the States.
Yes. And actually it's Texas based to begin with, which I found funny. But other things I've watched since the last time we talked, watched Avatar 2, The Way of the Water.
I don't think I can watch it.
It's surprisingly good. Like,
really?
It is long as fuck, but the first one was too. It does retread a lot of stuff from the first one. It's got like a whole lot of the same beats, but, you know, different. And there's been like almost like an 18-year time gap or something like that. So he almost kept the actual real gap between the movies within this one movie. And
yeah, I haven't heard good things.
I mean, it wasn't terrible by I mean, I went in obviously with an open mind, and I'm just like, okay, well, let's see what we got all these years later, you know. And it's didn't have, I don't even think I paid for that one. I think that one was free to watch by now, because I did actually have to rent Primer on YouTube for $3. So
really,
yeah, it was like not streaming for free anywhere. But I mean, $3 is $3. Who cares? You know, and it's YouTube.
True.
And the cool thing is like a lot of the other ones where you've got like 48 hours. I was like, once you start it, you got 48 hours to watch it. But up until then, you got like 6 months to start watching it. So it's pretty cool. And Google Play has a similar setup as well. So you can get a lot. There was another.
Did you see it?
Go ahead.
Did you see it and interested in the movies? A movie that's had some characters that are behind you.
Did I watch a Transformers movie is what you're asking. Yes, I did watch a Transformers movie last week. I was going to get to that. I was just trying to roll through it. I'm actually kind of going backwards through my movies. So, because I actually watched Primer while Dante and I were talking, I put it on and I watched it before bed. And then literally like before I went to bed, I'm like, what the fuck did I just watch? And he's like, what? It's like, I watched Primer. He's like, oh, okay. Yeah. So, no, Avatar 2, gorgeous movie. Like, and so, I think some people were like hating on the CGI. I was like, you're a fucking moron. Your TV must suck, because like they developed a technology so fucking ridiculous that like shit legit looks like it's underwater. Like if you go say like The Little Mermaid, for instance, like that does not look like it's underwater in any way, shape, or form. That looks like some shit floating in imaginary invisibleness.
It's a movie I don't think I will be watching.
Oh, I'm not gonna watch it, but the wifey wanted to, and I'm like, I told her she's still a girl, so she wants to go watch it. But I some of the other live action Disney films I can be talked into because whatever.
Yeah, some of them are okay.
But this one is just so off the rails.
Like Beauty and the Beast is good.
Yeah, Beauty and the Beast wasn't bad. Good. Yeah.
That's one that kind of
the Cinderella one that started it was actually not terrible. It wasn't a direct. Yeah. It wasn't a direct one, but it was pretty close.
Aladdin was pretty bad.
I didn't watch that one, and that would be why, because that wasn't Aladdin's movie. That was Jasmine's movie. Not to sound all Mike about it. Yeah. I like how when we refer to anything sexist, it's just Mike.
The thing that turned me off is the genie.
Yeah, and having Will Smith as a genie, dude.
That was not even that. The genie was Robin Williams.
Yeah, he literally he was that character. I mean, even who was it that played him on the show? I don't think it was Hank Azaria, but it was one of those guys from The Simpsons did the genie's voice other than Robin Williams. But in live action, like you're either gonna have to go with a fully CGI person, like never gonna look real, or you have to base it on a real person. Like the weird part was whenever like I don't know, it was always gonna be hard shoes to fill, you know, and that's
big shoes to fill.
Yeah, literally, yeah. if he even had shoes, because sometimes he just had the tail, you know.
A
Yeah,
big cloud.
I always thought that was funny. The genie could have legs when he wanted to. Like he could just turn into like a human-esque form, you know, as a disguise and have legs, but otherwise he's like floating around almost directly attached to the lamp. You know, it was a little weird. But anyway, so yeah, last Friday, I guess. No, Thursday. So it was like a very early like afternoon release. Went and watched Transformers because I knew the wifey wasn't going to be interested at all. So, you know, no big deal. You know, I always ask her, I was like, hey, I'm going to go watch this movie. Do you give a shit? And she's like, no, you know.
Bye.
Yeah, so, and it was fine. I did a review for it. I haven't done a movie review in a little bit. But it was fine, but it wasn't good. No, it wasn't great. I'll give it a good. It was good. Out of 10, I gave it a 6.5.
Really?
Yeah, because there was a lot of good in it that gave it a big boost against all the negative. So like there's a whole lot of negative in it, but a lot of that comes, like, for me, the negatives come down to like the logistical shit. It comes down to, you know, oh, we're doing this again, you know, that kind of stuff. But like the actual movie premise and the characters and stuff like that were better than Old Bayverse, but not as good as Bumblebee. So if this movie was a 6.5, Bumblebee is like an 8. Transformers 1 is like a 9, and like Transformers 2 is like an 8.5. So this is like my 4th out of all the movies. I gave it that because like
Transformers 2 is terrible.
No, 3 was so much worse than 2. Come on, like the first 2 at least fit together. After the first 2, even though the third one is still with Sam, because what's her face fucking left, and you know they had to go rewrite a whole new girlfriend and all this other nonsense, and then now we're rewriting the arc. Now we're throwing in all the bullshit between Sentinel Prime and all that. It's like it went so far off the rails. 3 and down. Well, I mean,
I think 2 and 3 are bad, but 1 is decent.
One is a solid movie because it doesn't have anything else to screw it up. Like it's like that without, as a standalone, 1 is great. It's like, but as soon as you include the rest of the devolving mess, it brings everything down. But you know, to put it in scale, The Last Night is a 2. You know, that is such a bad one. You know, number 5 is so bad.
That's being nice because they tried to cram so much into it, like Hot Rod,
way too much.
It's like you don't need this.
Yeah, and you know he's not here to have this discussion this time, but I did say to Ricky, like, I did call him out in my video, and he got pissed off that I called him out, and I said I was right. This does not result in the 2007 movie unless some insane shit happens, some insane rewrites you don't get from Rise of the Beast to 2007.
No, you don't.
You can't. You can't. There's too many plot lines that cannot intersect. It
needed a reboot.
It's a soft reboot, Al. It's a soft reboot. That was Ricky's argument to me the other day. It's like, it's a soft reboot, so therefore it still counts as the same timeline. And I know he was just fucking with me for the most part, but he was fucking with me so insistently that I wasn't sure that he was. Like that was the problem. It's like, I don't know if he's fucking with me or he really believes it at this point.
I think there you go. Like, perfect example is they put Mirage as Jazz.
Mm-hmm.
That's where people kind of go, oh, it is in the same universe.
Well, that's why Bobby believes that it's the same universe because they're leaving the opening for Jazz. It's like, I think it was bigger than that. Like, I think there was other issues that caused that problem. Because the whole reason he's a Porsche at all isn't because they wanted Jazz. It's because it's a reference to Bad Boys, where they drove the same model Porsche. So that's the only thing. And it was, and that was 94 or 95, give or take.
Plus, you couldn't have a racing car going around the city.
No.
Like a Formula 1 car. Now, there is a nod to it in the spoilers
Yeah.
for people who haven't seen it. But there's a nod too, where he changes into cars.
Yeah, I didn't call that a nod. I called that a middle finger. They're like, oh, by the way, I could be the car you want me to be, but I'm not. It's literally what it turns into. It's a middle finger to. But how does he have multiple alt modes? It made no sense.
Because it's a mirage.
No, but he didn't. No, it wasn't. He was physically changing. It wasn't like casting an illusion. He was actually. I mean, how did he turn into a giant garbage truck? It's like he's smaller than Bumblebee, but turns into a vehicle larger than Prime. It made no sense. Like if he was casting a hologram, like you would, if he did that, it would make sense. But he doesn't. You see him physically transforming like they normally do. If they went the hologram route, which I think somebody said to do, and then someone said, well, why don't we just show him transforming? Then it would have made total sense. Even in my brain, I went, yeah, they would just cast it as a giant thingy.
That's what I thought. I thought it was him just transforming in its hologram form.
No, he literally transforms. You see him physically switch from different cars. Like, so he in the scene, because it's not a pivotal scene. Who cares? It's a character introduction scene. So, like, he's sitting there in Porsche. He transforms into the Porsche, and then he transforms off screen into a Ferrari. Clearly, they couldn't get Ferrari again because they're still dealing with that from number 3. Where the other Mirage came from in the original Bayverse, there was Mirage. They called him Dino, but he was Mirage. And then the toys could never be the Ferrari he was in the movie because it couldn't get the licensing deal. So that's why that particular robot has never been represented properly by Hasbro. There was like one third-party company that did it correctly.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah. There was one third-party company who did a version that was correct. And once again, they called him Dino in the movie, even though he was Mirage everywhere else.
Mm-hmm. And he was Italian, wasn't he?
And he was Italian. He had an Italian accent, which why would they have any accent at all other than Hot Rod thinking it's funny to talk with a French accent in number 5?
But look at Wheeljack. Like,
I don't want to look at Wheeljack. I don't want to hear about Wheeljack. I don't want to know Wheeljack.
Perfect.
He's not Wheeljack. Why couldn't they just make him Ironhide or somebody? Ironhide was in the first movie. They could have literally or Ratchet. Either one could have been pulled for this movie. It's a new universe. Stop fucking it up.
They could have just made a new robot. You know what I mean?
Or
because
just,
they had Wheeljack in the first movie. They had
all of the original art crew in the first movie almost.
Yeah.
Almost all of them. And I went back and I rewatched that scene. And by the way, people think that's
a great scene.
Yeah, people think that Cybertron scene was like 10 minutes. It was 3 minutes.
Yeah.
It was 3 minutes, not 10. I was like, I went and looked. I'm like, holy shit, the scene is short compared to what I think. I mean, like, I think there was a little bit more to it, like, because I saw it from right before the title screen, when they escape. A good chunk of that battle. I think there was like one little bit before that, but not much. It wasn't 10 minutes, like we've all sort of made ourselves believe over time. But but the fact that you see all of those bots, you see Ironhide, you see Ratchet, you see RC, Wheeljack. I don't know Jazz or anybody else like that I can recall.
No, I don't think Jazz did.
But there was a bunch of them that were just kind of sort of at the edge of the screen, so who knows? But also enough of those escape pods left to make you think that we probably got 8 out there. And people made this comment on because I couldn't remember how the other Autobots got to Earth, and then they reminded me that there's a stinger in Bumblebee where they see the ships coming to Earth. That's how the other Autobots get there. But now you've got an extra Autobot in there that is only there just to be a plot device almost. You've got Stratosphere that gets introduced in here. He's a big ass giant airplane. I'm like, well, this guy would be entirely useful in a fight. Look how big he is.
Why does he have a mustache?
Why do any of them have facial hair? Why do any of them have mouths? They don't need to eat. It's like why does Prime have a nose? They give him a nose in this, and it looks ridiculous. And I can't stop staring at it. Like whenever
I didn't like the shield. Just keep the shield.
Yeah.
The
battle mask as they call it now.
Yeah.
But they textured it. They textured it since the last movie for some strange reason. You know, they actually altered everybody's designs a little bit since the last movie, and only figured that out while making my review video. Like, I pulled up Prime from the first one and Prime from this one, and like, I mean, like, there's small differences, but like, people are like, well, yeah, it's like, because he's got to eventually look like he does from 2007 and stuff. I was like, yeah, but he didn't have a form. Like, he had his protoform body, and then the outer armor adjusts to being like whatever they scan, right? He looked like truck mode Optimus on Cybertron. Like, he already had that form. Like, they didn't travel in protoform modes.
In Beast Force.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, like, my problem then is just what you just said is, in the first movie, you see him landing in Earth.
And he lands on Earth, and he scans the truck, and he's got no armor on. He's got nothing. They all kind of have a weird blank body. Like, it just looks like a pile of metal. And then they scan whatever, and so they add their body panels. So, like...
Another reason why you can't be in the same universe.
Yeah, another reason. Well, I've made this argument repeatedly to people who keep saying it is, and it's like, it can't be. Well, they're going to leave Earth at some point. They literally prove in this movie they can't leave Earth. They don't. Their pods are one-way pods, basically. So it's like, which actually still doesn't make sense from Bumblebee, because Bumblebee went to Earth to establish a base, and then they were going to summon everyone else. Prime ended up there anyways by the end of the movie, even without anything else happening, and then together they call the rest of the Autobots to come join them, you know. And then
I must watch that movie again.
Yeah, I was reminded about that in the comments, so, and then I had to reply. I was like, okay, yeah, I did completely forget that scene where they're walking through the woods together, and this is when he renames himself Bumblebee because he was B187 or something like that in the first one.
Numbers.
So why did everybody else have a proper name, but Bumblebee didn't? I also never understood that, but it doesn't matter. It's the semantics of the nonsense.
Yeah, it's weird.
But also we are now getting the, you know, spoilers, the Hasbro Cinematic Universe, without going too deep into it now. So
yeah, that was, and
I'm okay with that. That's the other proof.
Really?
I'm okay with that because they were talking about doing that before, but they didn't have a good way to do it.
Yeah, that's a good point, because now it's definitely not connected to.
Yeah, it can't be. Yeah, it can't be. And I feel like, and maybe I missed this again in Bumblebee, but like John Cena and his like military team, somebody said in comments on a different video that like they became, or he got invited into Sector 7. I was like, I don't remember Sector 7 at all being a part of Bumblebee. It's like, because at that point, I don't believe, like, we're supposed to believe that Bumblebee was taking place sort of in the same universe, meaning Sector 7 exists, Megatron's on Earth somewhere, because we never saw Megatron on Cybertron, except for the possibility that we did, because if you look at the gun that Soundwave is wielding, it looks very G1 Megatron gun.
Oh, as I said, I have to.
Yeah, you have to look at it. I saw a short on it. I'm like, wait a minute. It's like, and then I looked at the toys. I was like, holy shit. I was like, yeah, it's like, that looks like it could easily, if they went that way, it looks like it could easily be him using Megatron in gun mode. And because Soundwave doesn't tend to have like a big old rifle. He, you know.
No, he did.
Well, when?
One is toy, and in the cartoon, that kind of big barrel with the silver kind of.
Well, he has the things that look like his batteries. Yeah, he doesn't have a rifle, like a proper looking rifle. This thing looks like a rifle with a scope with a big barrel that kind of sticks up, and a thing that comes out the back is like
the stock.
It's stock. Thank you. It's just words escape me. It's fine. Rifle butt. Yeah, but either way, the you could easily have sold that as that was Megatron, because it was Soundwave, second in command, basically using the gun, firing at the Autobots, you know. But either way, it was fine.
Soundwave second in command?
I think in that movie he was, because the Seekers weren't leading anything; they were just blowing shit up. They were blowing up a tower in the most inconvenient manner possible, flying above it, and then fire missiles down past your enemies, and they swirl around and they hit the base. It was like, what do
that did look cool, though.
That was just rule of cool. That is literally all that was. It was rule of cool.
You're painting to the fans.
Yeah, I mean, it was fine. But like back to Rise of the Beast, because we talked about the goodness of other movies. The plot contrivances in this movie are so kind of absurd that it just stretches into being like at least Transformers 3 level of absurdity.
Mm-hmm.
But like, why does Unicron need the transwarp dealy? He doesn't, is the answer. Unicron can just move around and eat planets at will. It's a convenience for him to have it and be able to just hop around.
Yeah, if he moves faster.
But he doesn't need it. And they prove that they don't need it by the way the Terracons end up on Earth in 5 fucking seconds after the thing gets activated. It's like, hold on. Hold the fuck on. It's like, this thing was only turned on maybe 20 minutes ago in movie time. Or in movie real time, I should say. And you're telling me these Cybertronians that are somewhere in a galaxy somewhere, who don't have transwarp travel, who don't have a spaceship, make their way to Earth after this shit, and we're worried about getting Unicron, this fucking MacGuffin? Is like, that's bullshit. It's once again where they'll write a scene, film everything, throw out what they wrote and filmed, and then do something new, and then they just go day to day. That's what it feels like. And I've said that forever about these movies, is like, it feels like they threw out the script from yesterday, started a whole new movie from the point they left off at. And like, there's like, okay, we're going to go from day to day and writing this. And that's what it felt like.
What did you think of Scourge as the bad guy?
I mean, he was fine. I feel like he was like 2 steps off from being Tarn. Like, he had a very Tarn feel to him. I
also think he reminded me of Lockdown in...
yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, Lockdown was in Age of Extinction, yeah. I would agree with that, except the Lockdown was significantly cooler, like, and like more menacing. Like, he like, Lockdown was menacing because he just had all this shit at his disposal and he could just kill you, not to mention he had a big ass face gun. Which was that was a cool scene. Like, there are some really cool scenes from 4, but the movie overall is trash. But
the whole together was terrible.
Yeah. The whole is terrible, but it's got good parts, as Pinkerton would say. So the by the way, I'm gonna have Pinkerton on at some point too.
Cool.
But he's starting his new job. Congrats to Chris Pinkerton on getting a new job. He'd be starting up pretty soon, because I just talked to him this morning.
Good.
Or yesterday, whichever day. The last 2 days have really blended together. But no, what was I saying? Scourge. So he was cool, and he was intimidating in the fact that he very, very easily could beat down Prime and the Autobots in the movie, but like, he didn't really have a presence so much as he just proved that he's a badass. Lockdown had presence. They gave him like atmosphere and presence. Like, the first time he walks out, he's walking down the road, comes out of the smoke, and he's got the ship behind him, and it's like it's locked onto him. And then like, it zooms out, and then you see the whole ship. It's like, yeah, this dude got presence. Whereas we just see Scourge being a badass by beating everyone down easily and then taking their insignia. You know.
Oh yeah.
Which was fine, because there's some Easter eggs in his insignia on his shoulder, where there's the regular Autobot, there's the
Prime.
They have the Elite Guard or whatever it is symbol, where it's got like the extra like bits coming out. They had
the old Maximal.
They had a Maximal. Well, he added the Maximal, but he also had Predacon on there, which means that wherever they came from, at some point he interacted with Predacons proper. And that was a whole thing they didn't necessarily need to write into this from Beast Wars, was how the Maximals ended up in the past, because it's not connected to them using the transwarp in this moment, because then there's no way for Scourge and Unicron to find them if they, so they're already in the past in this movie when it starts. So they're already several thousand years ago. I think they said 5,000. There was some weird, they always play with time. Yeah. So I think they said 5,000 years. Yeah. And so they just ended up warping to Earth, but not through time, because then it would make no sense for the bad guys to find them if they jump through time. You're not going, it's like, what?
I didn't understand why they separated. Why they had one razor. Oh, what's the
Air
name?
Razor.
Air razor is there, but
Yeah.
the rest of them are here. But they're
So
not. They should have kind of separated.
so the way that it was implied in the movie was that Air Razor had a team of her own and they died somehow.
Really?
That was implicated in the show, because even Primal was like, you're alone, and she says the others
Oh,
didn't make
in the
it.
in the show or in the movie?
In the
Because I
movie,
didn't get that impression.
she basically says the others didn't make it. So like
Oh,
they
I didn't get that impression.
no, yeah, so they only show us the four, technically five Maximals in the intro, but then it was implied that there were more on the ship with them, and like Primal, sorry, had his group with Cheetor and Rhinox, and then Air Razor was in a different part of Earth, wherever, because I didn't necessarily cover that. That was a little weird. Basically, somewhere in Africa, if I had to guess. And and she had other Maximals with her, and for some reason they died. Maybe they split off in atmosphere or something. We don't see that, so who the fuck knows?
Yeah, I
Not
always
enough.
thought it was just four of them.
No,
Like,
that's where it was.
going off.
That was the implication by all advertising and everything else like that. But then they really intimate that there was another team that she was in charge of. So like she was in charge of maybe another set of three. Maybe call it, I don't know, Tigatron and Rat Trap, because those are the only two we're really missing. Dinobot, but
never a fan of Beast Wars.
Oh, I was, yeah. Now, Rat Trap would have been a fun one in there, but you cannot have Rat Trap without Scott McNeil. So I think that's why they didn't do it. It's like you can't not it's like, because even this one, no characters that he played, and he played like 5 characters on that show, so or 6. So
I think also because the size, he's a rat.
yeah, but I mean,
Like
she's a hawk or whatever,
Yeah, well, like,
and she's
a rat.
huge. Yeah.
Like, I said, I wasn't a fan, but I do remember he was really small in it.
Oh, he was
Wasn't
small in comparison, but he was equal in size. He was 2/3 the size of Cheetor, so I mean, he was a big ass rat. But I mean, they're already gigantic compared to humans, but they also already had animal forms or earth animal forms. So that means at some point the Maximals would have had to been on Earth to scan those animals as their forms, and then wherever they ended up in the past on another planet, there's not enough explained, unless it's somehow like beast machines, like this is Cybertron, but they got sent to the past, and it's actually all vegetation again instead of a Cybertronic world. But it doesn't matter because that got eaten.
There was vegetation
on the planet they came from in the beginning of the movie.
Well, then they're not Transformers because they didn't come from Primus.
They might have. They're from the future, so who knows? That's the problem.
Primus never had vegetation. He was.
Well, welcome to the complicated nature of what Beast Wars and Beast Machines did for the mainline Transformers canon. So that's at some point there was natural life, organic life on Cybertron according to Beast Machines. But that's what happens when they don't read what happened before and they just come up with their own shit. That was the beginning. It's like Beast Machines was the beginning for like the Bayverse kind of nonsense. It's like, we're not going to read what came before and we're just going to start from here. I've done an incidental deep dive on Beast Machines by rewatching stuff with other reviewers, basically.
Really?
So, but anyway, well, I was going to say...
The Maximals did look cool.
They did look very cool.
I know there was 1 or 2 CGI kind of dodgy bits, but
that's unavoidable. That's unavoidable, the CGI dodginess. But my biggest problem with them is they were monochromatic whenever they finally transformed. Like, Primal is basically like black and silver-ish, like, but amongst a dirty battlefield against other black and silver and brown. Couldn't tell what the hell was going on. And then Rhinox was brown and gray and silver. Like, barely got to see his alt or bot mode at all.
I don't think you did.
And no, you saw it up close once, and then that was it. Yeah, that was it. He like smashes something on the battlefield, and then they shift the camera. But then Cheetor also had a very quick scene. He actually looks a lot like his almost like his Transmetal 2 body instead. It's a little weird.
I remember him.
Because you see him transform, like, but you don't see it close enough. They show you Optimus Primal up close, like as he's transforming. Because at one point he has like a robot, or his robot head is just like there, and he's still running, and then like all of a sudden his mask just starts going away. And he has a really cool.
You don't see Air Razor.
No, you never see her bot mode. Is really kind of a shame. Actually, what happened to her in general is a shame in that movie. It was like, of course, they have to kill off somebody. Of course, they go for the Asian chick.
Let's kill off Wheeljack, because it's not Wheeljack.
Yeah, let's kill off Wheeljack. I mean, they could have made him anybody. He could have been anyone that has never been in these movies, but no, they went with Wheeljack. And he didn't even do anything Wheeljack-like at all. Like, that's the biggest problem, is like, just, I don't want to go off on that again. I want to talk about a much better movie. Can I talk about a much better movie?
Much better movie.
Yeah, so before all that went down, and we just had some empty time. Watched a movie called Vengeance. It's actually by B.J. Novak from The Office. If you remember American Office.
No, never watched it.
Okay, so he's a guy who played Ryan. So he was in the show almost from the beginning because he was the intern and yes. Michael would torture his ass.
I know the guy you're talking about now.
Yeah. And so this was his first film debut as a director, and it's a really interesting. I don't want to call it slice of life, but it's a very people-centric movie. Like, the plot is really thin. Like, it's very, very small plot, but because of the way that it becomes like a character study, even within the actual show. So this girl ends up dead in an oil field, and he gets woken up by a phone call like the next day or whatever, and it's her brother calling him and said, "Hey, your girlfriend's dead." And he's like, "Girlfriend? What are you talking about?" Because he just sleeps around with whoever. And at some point, they had a little fling. But apparently on her end, she had been constantly telling the family that they were still in contact. They were still dating, all this, that, and the other. So in their mind, they're like a super tight couple. In his mind, he just banged her a couple times and never talked to her again. And but the fact that her brother talks him into actually coming to Texas, because he's in New York, coming to Texas for the funeral. And the family is fucking weird, as it's going to be. The brother is played by Boyd Holbrook, if you know that actor. He was the head of the Reavers in Wolverine.
Yes.
Yeah, so
I didn't know his full name.
Yeah. So he keeps his Texas accent, which is great, for this movie. So and like, it looks like they are shooting this in Texas proper, because they even go to a Whataburger. It's like the fact they use a real Whataburger. They're filming in a real Whataburger for it. Was like, that's the selling point. I'm going to watch this because it's got Whataburger in it. But basically, he gets there, does the funeral. The brother's taking him to the airport to leave, and he's like, "Do you want?" He basically throws out the theory that he thinks his sister was murdered. And this guy's like a big time podcaster. He's like. He calls himself like Joe Rogan of New York, kind of. He actually has like in movie, he's got a really big podcast, like, millions of people listen to, but like, where they'll either do interviews or they'll do like more storytelling, like basically follow people and build a whole story type podcast. And what he decides to do, he calls his producer back in New York and said, "Hey, I'm going to stay here and I'm going to investigate this, because I needed a new story. I needed a new thing. So I'm going to do this. I'm basically use these people, get the story, make more money."
So he's like a not a full-time detective kind of thing. He's just looking for a story.
Yeah, he's just looking for the story. That's all it is. He doesn't care one way or the other, realistically. Like, if she was murdered, okay. If she was, this guy, he thinks that he's just a crackpot and there's no way his sister was actually murdered. And like, dude, the story, as like he goes through and he truly starts investigating it, like gets fully involved, starts talking to all the people that she saw the last time they were at a party. Like, basically, like, she was found like 2.5 miles away from this huge blowout party that happens, and it's thrown by the local drug cartel guy. And so,
Okay.
so like it's all built around a lot of the weird issues that small town Texans and go through, especially being near the border, stuff like that. So what was it? The cartel specifically? She'd got in with the wrong people and they killed her. Did she overdose from drugs? Just because there's nothing better to do in a small town. You know, did she have a secret boyfriend? What all the stuff. So like basically, it starts out like a joke, like a comedy, and then it starts really getting kind of more in depth.
Serious?
It gets more serious. And Ashton Kutcher is also in this.
Fuck off, really?
Yeah, it was great. Like we never heard of this movie. Apparently, it came out in 2022. It was on streaming on Amazon, so if you want to watch it, by all means, it's called Vengeance for anybody. And like at some point, like he starts feeling like it's, and this is where the turning point of the movie. So he's on the phone with, I don't even remember what the lady's name was, but basically she was a much bigger type person, like say from like Spotify or some like big on pushing shows out, basically.
Okay, yeah.
Whatever that would be. And so he's talking with his producer and her on the phone, and they're talking about the shows that you've been giving us are really big. They're actually, they're gaining traction. So he would record for like a week or something like that, and then he would send it back. He's basically staying there for like 2 months, and it's called like Death of a White Girl and like all these other dumb names that they gave it. And then he's like legitimately he's dressed a lot more like he's from there. He's got like the button down and the jeans, and he's eating a Frito pie, if you know what a Frito pie is. So it's you know what Fritos are, actual just straight up Fritos corn chips. So a Frito pie is when you add chili, cheese, and everything else to it. Mm-hmm. But if you're doing it proper, you actually just cut the top off the bag and you throw everything in the bag and you eat it with a fork or a spoon. Okay. So he walks out of this little diner and he's having this phone call on his AirPod, and literally eating this while talking to us. Like that was the turning point where he didn't realize how native he had become. Like he'd been there for like 3 or 4 weeks doing this, and he's staying with her family, who all think that they had this whole thing, but now he's like bonding with the family while he's there. Like her weird little brother that just comes in for no reason to sleep on her. He's sleeping in her bed in her old room. Her little brother comes in the middle of the night and sleeps on the floor without saying much. And like they're the quirky kind. So every kid in the family is named after a different Texas city or a different city in general. Like
this sounds kind of weird now.
It starts out as a dark comedy and then turns into something much more serious. So it's a really good movie. Like we just picked something to watch, and I was reading and I was like, and then once again we saw in the trailer Whataburger. Okay, we're gonna watch this. The selling point was Texas for me.
Is it obvious who did it? It's like
no, that's the thing. Like the story, it unfolds itself like pretty nicely. Like some other people maybe would pay more attention and be like, well, clearly, but they do enough red herrings, because even while they're investigating it, they go in fully believing, okay, it's definitely this, but then they go into the investigations and the conversations. And it was like, okay, well, that's not what I thought it was. And then at one point, they just kind of stop for reasons. And then, it picks back up again. And you're like, okay, so where are they going with this? Because even at the end, it's like not super clear until they just dump it out there. And it's just like, okay. It's like, so it's like the mystery behind it is the fun part, because you think that they play enough with your expectations, like, so it's enjoyable. Plus, like I said, the people are likable. It starts out really fucking weird, but the people are likable, and then you see him bonding with them and stuff like that, and like you see a family healing from the loss of their daughter, and you see a guy who didn't give a fuck about her in the first place start giving a fuck about her now that she's dead, and he does get called out on that at some point.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah, so I definitely highly recommend that.
Just on a point that we spoke about earlier on.
Yeah, the sun's going down finally.
Yeah.
It looks like it looks like it's 10 p.m. finally.
And it
looks like 7 p.m. here. Yeah.
It's 20 past 10.
Yeah, which is crazy. You'll live in a weird latitude. So, I mean, other
So
than
that's all your movies.
that's pretty much it for movies. I've just been watching other TV shows and shit like that. Oh, what was it? Nope. I already talked about that before. Marvelous Miss Maisel's over. Fantastic show. Sad that it's gone.
Try to get into Ted Lasso, but I fell asleep.
Yeah, I don't know if I could actually get into that one or not. I don't know if I like Jason Sudeikis enough to get in on that. I've heard it's really good, but I'm just doesn't.
I don't know anything. I don't know anything really about any shows that he's does, so I don't really have a kind of
He's more of a
dog in that
movie
fight.
guy. He's more of a movie guy.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know any movies.
A lot of mid 2000s comedies.
Oh, well, that ruled me out.
Sorry, I need more water.
Yeah, I'm getting drinking, so.
How did we do that? We did that the last time too.
Great minds.
Great minds. That's what it is. Great hydrations.
Yeah. There's been a few things that I've tried to get into watching, but I just couldn't get into it.
Yeah.
Because either I'm just falling asleep or just not having time.
Yeah.
I'm going to hopefully go to see Spider-Man on Saturday.
Oh, yeah.
Cool. I love the first one, Into the Spider. Yeah.
Yeah, the first one was
Into the Spider-Verse.
Yes, it was Into the Spider-Verse is Across the Spider-Verse, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. I've heard good things. You know,
I've heard great things.
Like it just to me, it was like, okay, which movie am I going to go see? Because I didn't see the other Spider-Verse in the theater. I saw it once it hit streaming.
No, I think you have to see it in the movies.
I mean,
if you like,
you can say that about
like comic books.
Yeah, I mean, you can say that about so many other things too. Like, but it's like I've only got so much time, and if I'm going to avoid, like, I have to actually recall whether or not the wifey saw it with me or not, because I have to make that decision. If she didn't see the first one, then I'm not going to drag her to see it in the theater. I'm not going to spend the money to go take her to the theater, you know. Because I don't remember if she saw the first one. I know I definitely did, but I also would like Redbox movies or rent them on whatever, you know, and watch it at home all day, you know, when I'm doing fuck all. I'm trying to think. So I've gotten a lot of stuff in. I'm in the middle of, well, my computer did a reboot or did a restart, so I lost some progress there. But I had a in the kitchen video I filmed over the last couple days where I kept getting boxes in.
Mm-hmm.
So I forced myself to insert. It's like, okay, so this box should be in here later. Put it right here, and then now I have to actually add it. So I got.
What did you get in?
I've got my He-Man statue, my Masters of the Universe He-Man statue, which looks fantastic. I'm looking directly across at it right now. I can see it right through my ring light.
The box or the actual statue?
No, the actual statue. I put it on the shelf. You know, the patrons will see that sometime soon. So now I've got
a SHOKY tour. Are we getting?
No, they just see me put it on the shelf because like I had to move everything that was on that shelf. So I had like my gargoyle or not statues, but the figures and then a couple other random figures on that shelf just sitting there, but that was set for He-Man. And because he's the tallest figure or statue in the line, technically speaking, like it's set good. So if I wanted to get more to like surround him with like say Tila or Battle Cat or somebody like that, I should have room.
What's make is it from? Like series? I won't say He-Man, but like is it General Giant, Hot Toys, what brand?
Iron Studios.
Iron Studios. Oh,
yeah, those are the only premium statues I collect is Iron Studios. Because I like the size, because they look like action figures. They're roughly they're 1/10 scale, so they're 7-inch scale figures basically. So they fit right in. Because I got NECA on one side, I've got Hasbro on the other, and they're right down the middle. So they just kind of look like they're just part of the regular display. But right now he's just by himself, and there's enough negative space around him to convince me to spend more money. And I said that to Bobby. I'm like, it's like I've got the negative space itch. It's like I've got open space, and I know I could fit a few more characters in there. But unlike the Thundercats,
not always a good thing.
Yeah, exactly. But unlike the Thundercats in the Mutants display, it's not like a full-on multi-piece diorama. Like each character kind of has their own base. Like, so even if I got the other ones, it wouldn't necessarily look like they all fit together. But I could have the characters in there. I'll think about it. Because it's still a little time till they come out. But
you need to do it. You need to do a tour of your.
Yeah, I haven't done one in a while. I used to do it yearly. But because it was such a mess, and also I have my Detolfs where nothing is on display, it's just my boxes of Gundams. That display has never been finalized since we moved in. I just renewed our lease, so we'll be here for another year and a half, give or take.
Cool.
So I can fill out more shelves over time. Actually, I gotta remind myself I have to unbury my Batman statues, which are over here, so that I can felt those shelves the way I did my other ones.
We went to a cool shop in Maryland with Bobby, and I think it was called Beyond Comics.
Yes,
cool stuff.
They were closed, or else I would have been able to go check them out. Like the day what day was that? Oh, Sunday. Sunday after we did after I dropped you off, we went to historic Frederick and went around, and there was a little comic shop there, and it was trash. There's. I mean, like just.
Oh yeah, in the kind of I'd call it like the village.
Yeah, exactly. But the area was really friggin' cool. Like we checked it out. We didn't get to talk about that even like on a vlog or anything else like that. But we actually went. We ate. We met Dormammu. He came out to meet us.
Oh, you met him. Cool.
Yeah, did get to meet Dormammu before we left. That was a lot of fun. He went hanging out with us for a couple hours. Got to watch him drink a Guinness. American Guinness, it doesn't count.
I really wanted to play on.
Yeah, but that was just funny. But he gave us a quick little tour of the kind of river or creek park right there that they've developed over the last few years. And then they have like semi-permanent art installations on the water, which is really fucking cool.
I think they have koi fish. I think when we went, but if it was the same part, that was like, I think it was a koi fish. Bobby pointed out. We actually saw one.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know where he all took y'all. Because like we didn't get to do a whole lot while we were up there. Realistically, we ate a Manaloo. We went to the liquor store that you and I went to. Oh, by the way, I don't remember if I told you or not. I did pick up a regular bottle of 12-year Redbreast.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
No.
So
Ricky told me that he was looking for one.
Yeah, no, I found it locally. It was the last bottle. So remember, it's like they said they didn't have any there because the distribution was out. So apparently that's a nationwide thing, not just a local thing. But I actually kind of prefer the sherry finished one, that orange one. Yeah, it's got a smoother finish. Like they both taste great, but the sherry one for some reason just finishes a little bit smoother in my mind. So, but I mean, I drink them both. It's like I got no problem drinking either one. It's such a good whiskey. Which I'll drink some later during the Patreon live stream. Because I'll drink on that one. But I needed to hydrate some more. God damn, it's hot. Let's see. I don't really have much else. So, what have you been up to since the last time we talked?
The last time we talked, I got home.
Okay, so last time you were on a pod.
Yeah, so it was a Tuesday. No, we went to that Attorney of Dreams place with Bobby. That was, oh my god, it was like a time capsule.
Yeah, we went there the day before, or the day of the party. We went there beforehand.
It was cool. I actually managed to pick up some stuff that I completely missed out on here. So I got them.
What'd you get?
G.I. Joes.
Old or
the classified.
Okay.
The classified ones. I'm there before I left. I made a fuck up on some stuff. And I managed to get them there because I couldn't get them here. And
so you just missed the initial release, but they just happened to have them sitting there. Yeah, they had like so much G.I. Joe.
Oh, they had loads. Then we went to. If you listen to Nerd Rage, or if you have, Bobby talks about the free pizza thing. That was the guy, Andy went to get pizza, and he couldn't get it. And the guy that worked there paid for it. And he's like, sometimes you just gotta be nice. And later that day, I was in the airport because I was flying home that night. And we're at the bar, and there was a lady who she had lost her credit card, and I was sitting next to her, and I'll get it, paid for it. She came back. She had found some money from her husband. I was like, no, let's pay for it, don't worry. Just pass it on.
Yeah.
You know, because sometimes like that girl did that for us. You pass it on.
Yeah, something like that happens. You keep the good vibes rolling. Yeah, I did that. I did that for a kid at a.
Exactly.
So and I never really talked about this. So a few months ago, when my parents were going through the whole hospital thing, that night when we were trying to take, we were taking my dad back home, I believe, when my mom was in the hospital. We stopped at there was an HEB, grocery store right there. Never been in that one, brand new. We just not in our area, but needed to grab something, right? And I went in there and I grabbed the quick couple things I needed. And there was a kid there at the self-checkout, and he was looking pretty upset. And I see that he's got cash in hand, and, I think he had like $40, and he was expecting it to only be like less than, but then after taxes, it was like $40 and like 16 cents or something. Something ridiculous, but literally just didn't have it. And there was like nobody else around, and he asked me, he's like, "Hey, could you help me out?" And I'm like, you just need, he put his cash in. It was literally just the remainder, I was like, for that, yes, fine. I was like, no problem. I was like, I don't care. It's like I wouldn't have cared if it was the whole 40. I wouldn't have been, I could have paid the whole thing. Didn't care, but like for that is like, yeah. So this kid can get out there, because I could hear him. He was on his phone with his mom because he didn't know what to do. He was a young kid, probably like 14 or something. And he was clearly picking up stuff for his mom because she couldn't. Gave him the cash, go to the store. And I was like, yep, just so you can get home and do it. It's like, look, we're going through stressful shit right now, too. You don't need to also have a stressful night here. Fuck, who cares? It's 11 cents. Let's go.
Yeah.
So.
Some people are nice. It happened to me a few years ago. Buying nappies for my youngest. Wouldn't take my card, and they needed the nappies. An old lady came up, passed it on.
Yeah.
So anytime that's like, it's nice. It's nice to be nice.
The kindness of strangers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then speaking of said flight, that fucking flight.
Dude, yeah, you got delayed for how long?
I got 3 hours, which made my connecting flight from London to Dublin. I missed that. So.
Oh yeah, because this flight was delayed doesn't mean any of the other ones are. Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't get home till around like 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, when I should have been home at 12 o'clock earlier on. So
yeah,
because it was frustrating.
Yeah, because I think I messaged you, and you had literally just walked in the door, like only a few minutes before that.
Yeah, I think actually you and Ricky actually sent me kind of texted kind of same time, kind of like get home here, and I was like, I just let you in the door.
Yeah, so, it's like we were both on the same page, checking on you.
Yeah. It's fucking frustrating. Obviously, we spoke about Transformers. I brought my daughter. She did not like it. But we already spoke about that.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so what is your number? What is your number grade then? Out of 10?
Oh, 4.5, maybe 5.
Oof, that's brutal. Okay, so in reference, what would Transformers 1 be?
7.
Okay, so you're where I'm at, but only difference of like 2 points.
Yeah.
So you said 4.5. I said 6.5. So we're off by the same amount. Yeah.
I said I didn't know. I wasn't a big Beast Wars fan. I knew of it. I knew 1 or 2 characters from watching the cartoon.
I guess
I wouldn't be.
The good news is you don't have to be, realistically. It's like it's nice for the fans, but they don't force it down your throat to be like, you have to know everything. That's the one benefit, is you don't have to know to watch.
You're right.
But when you throw in fan favorite characters, at least do enough with them to justify doing that, to where it's not just like, oh ho ho, like here's the new shiny, come buy the movie, like that kind of nonsense. Is like what they did with the Dinobots, like back in the day.
Yeah, that
was abuse.
That
was abuse.
Dinobots are my
they're everyone's.
Dinobots are my jam.
And
what they did in.
I've got my boys right here.
It breaks my heart. What ones are they? Studio series?
Yeah, Studio Series. Still waiting on Snarl. He's out in some places, but not widely.
Do you want me to get him for you?
No, he's coming. I've got him pre-ordered. It just and the thing.
No, I can get him for you right now.
I know, but by the time
tomorrow.
it gets here, I'll probably already be here. So, and like I go shopping enough that I'll probably find him in Target before my pre-order comes in.
My friend, you need to get me in contact with me, because them figures.
Why did you sound all Russian all of a sudden? You're like
it's not Russian.
You need to get in contact with me. Like, what was that fucking accent? So
South African is.
Oh, South African. No, okay, you're going very Africans.
South Africans. Them figures I sent you a picture yesterday, the latest Joes.
Oh yeah.
They only came out today, but I got them. I got kind of my dealings with them on. Fuck, was it? Might have been Friday. No, it wasn't Friday. Might have been Friday or Monday.
I don't even know what day it is now.
Because a certain person that we know is getting half of them. And
gee, I wonder which one. Which person could it possibly be?
Yeah, well, you have to find out. But anyway, yeah, they were fucking hell. They were a nightmare to get. I couldn't even get them for myself until I stumbled across a certain place that I don't like to go, that I don't like to deal with, because they're not very reliable, but they were actually reliable this time. So,
I mean, take it when you get it, right? Like, I don't collect enough to justify shipping shit halfway across the world. You know what I mean?
How much do you think? How much do you think shipping is?
Well, no, I'm just saying, like, the effort, like, because it's like I can wait. I'm in no rush. It's like it's gonna be here someday. It's like I'm not needing it for review tomorrow. I'm not needing any. It's like I need it to stand on my shelf at some point in my life. It's like I'm slow collecting at this point, and I got a new Power Rangers figure in, another one came in immediately behind it, which is really fucking annoying. When you ship your shit and then another thing arrives immediately after, because because the way BBTS does their fucking shipping containers.
High loot.
Yeah, well, not even that. The shipping containers, like, because Bobby's talked about it, and I was talking about it with who was it? Oh, it was my buddy Tyler. Because he was wanting, he has pre-orders in at BBTS that still haven't been filled, and I looked at it, I was like, well, yeah, it says literally second quarter. It's like that can be any time in the second quarter. They don't know. It's like that's just when their quarterly containers come in. Basically, it's like they're filling up 20 fucking containers. They're gonna have a whole thing of a ship. They're not. It's like all these other smaller retailers online that say like, hey, I'll get you this tomorrow. Basically, they're overnighting shit. They don't care. They'll order a couple crates and they'll overnight it. It'll cost you just a little bit more, but you'll have it now. Whereas BBTS is dealing with thousands of crates. They're not dealing with. Bobby's talked about that. It's the volume problem. It's like when you make yourself the biggest fucking distributor or retailer in the business, yeah, you're gonna have a problem getting shit in at a decent time, unless you've got a whole lot of ships going back and forth constantly, or you've got airplanes.
They're always quite late. Like they are. Like there are one or two. Like
it's gotten
worse.
Rock
and roll from them. Oh yeah,
it's gotten worse since COVID.
I got rock and roll from them because it couldn't get it here.
Oh, that's weird.
Man, you have to pre-order this thing.
Yeah. See,
like a lot of places. Why I actually like BBTS is when you pre-order something, you don't have to pay right away.
That's for me too. It's like I love that because
yeah,
if they had the option, like if it's pay or don't. That would also be nice because there's some bullshit. Like I'd be like, I don't want to wait and have this all come out at once. Let me pay for my $20 figures now, not have 10 of them come in all at once and slam my card in 4 months. That kind of shit. But when I started putting everything on my credit card because I had all the Iron Studio stuff coming in, I had bigger robots coming in, all that kind of stuff, all kind of at the same time. So it was nice to have the delay. And then, have it on the credit card instead of the debit card. But also, I'm making more money than I used to. And I want to make sure I live like I used to. So if I feel like, okay, am I going to be able to afford this in 3 months when this comes in? And be like, okay, I'm going to put the money away just in case, like forgetting the fact that I'm making, several $100s more a week than I used to, is like, but I want to live in the poor mindset when it comes to spending the money, because then I'll have more money if shit goes wrong. That's the way I try to live. But because I feel bad for you GI Joe collectors though, because it has gotten so good that it seemed like it was a little depressing at the beginning of Classified series, because I had the first couple, I got Cobra Commander and I got Destro, and I reviewed them, and then I didn't do anything else, and then I sold those off to just whoever. And I didn't need it. I wasn't a giant GI Joe fan, and I definitely didn't need to start another collection because I was already deep on Legends. I was already deep on Black Series, and Power Rangers was kicking up then. So I was like, I don't need another collection. And then NECA started doing significantly more stuff with the Ninja Turtles, so I started collecting that. And then I got rid of the Black Series. I got rid of the Legends, and so now I just have the Power Rangers, which is literally an entire Billy to themselves, and I don't have enough space there because I have a big fuck off Megazord taking up almost 2 shelves.
You need to send me some pictures. I actually just cleaned my 3 of my Billies.
Yeah, so
2 big Billies and 1 half Billy.
Yeah, so I've tried to organize it decently, by series, but then there's some overlap just because I don't have enough shelving. And I've got the Morphers, and I've got a couple things on display with it. So it's the Mighty Morphin section is very specific, trying to keep a lot of stuff in there. But I've got the Solo Chogokin Megazord, which isn't gigantic, but I mean it's decent. It's 19 inches, give or take. But that's 19 inches of shelf space you have to give up at least, right? Actually more, because it's got the taller shit. So I'm waiting for the Super 7 Megazord to come in, which is 8 or 9 inches. So that I can have that on the shelf as the representation, and not the big fucker. So I can move the shelves around. What are you going to do
with that one then?
Either put it elsewhere or possibly sell it. Because there's a lot of people who prefer that over the Zap Megazords.
Okay.
So, but I don't have any of the other ones. So in theory, I could sell it. Actually, what I'll probably do is sell it to our friend Sean, because I think he's got a spare Dragon Zord laying around. So I was like, I'll sell him my Megazord, give him a reason to buy more shit that he doesn't need.
No, I never got into Power Rangers.
It's right up my alley, man. I liked Voltron, and it was right on the heels of Voltron over here. So, it was I was on board. I have no Voltron. I have one Voltron representation in my collection, and it's a model kit, and it's buried somewhere.
No, I do remember Voltron.
Yeah.
And I think that wouldn't have been a fan. My 2 jams are Transformers, Star Wars, and G.I. Joe.
That's 3. You're 2 jams.
2.
You're my 2 jams. My 2.
But like you said,
tree. They're my tree.
I bought the first G.I. Joes, and I was like, I'm going to regret it. And then they turned into my 3rd. Because I'd love to get into the Turtles, but as you said, I don't want to start a collection. Where do you put the space?
Yeah, you have to sub it out. You got to sub it out.
Yeah. I love the X-Men, the original X-Men. I'd love to do. I think I was saying it to Ricky. I'd love to get a shelf just of the original X-Men, but it's where do I put them? And because I've got so much Star Wars shit.
That's one. Excuse me. That's one reason I went with the statues, because I didn't have to have all of them. I got to have my core characters. They're already posed. They already kind of have it there. Huh?
Of X-Men.
Well, what I'm saying, because Iron Studios has a whole X-Men collection.
I think I know the one.
And they have that was their first battle diorama, because you could get them all just individually doing a thing, or you have all of them attacking a Sentinel. And it's beautiful if you had all. I know Bobby's got a few of them here, mixed in. That he doesn't have the entire thing, but I think all in all with the because they had 2 different Sentinels. They had the one that clearly been through the battle and one that hadn't. So even then they had the options. And depending on which mutants you wanted, because you could have a couple extra, it went from $1,100 to $1,500 for the whole set. And quarter scale guys, that's normal money for like a statue. Like you got to think you're getting 7 or 8 statues, not to mention like a 20-inch Sentinel, or actually probably bigger, and it lit up, if I recall. Not crazy, but it lit up a little bit, Well, because even my Thundercats statue lights up, but the
you have to send me pictures.
I will. Well, here, shit. Did I take a picture yesterday? I don't remember. Oh, I got text messages from somebody.
That store that I was telling you about, we went to the big. We went to another comic book shop for Eternia. Had some cool statues, and had a really cool Bishop studio statue. I was like,
oh yeah, I remember that one. Yeah,
because I think it would have kind of paired into. I know he has a Rogue, I think.
I believe he has the Rogue.
Gambit, I think.
Yes, I think he got both of them for those shelves.
And it was the Bishop. I like Bishop being one of my favorite X-Men. Mm-hmm. That was. If I lived there, I would have bought it.
I did. You know what? I did not get a picture. So yesterday, when I was setting everything up for the video, after I put He-Man in his place because Thundercats are directly above him, I actually turned on the lights for the video to actually just get some shots just to show that the lights worked, and I left them on like all afternoon, so they're like super dim now. So even if I wanted to get a good picture of them, their batteries have drained. What I actually wanted to do, because it's just a simple like LED setup, right? I wanted to actually get it what's the word I'm looking for? Basically a limiter, or a reducer, and actually, dimmer. No, not a dimmer, but like basically, like because the voltage will be different from the batteries to I wanted to wire it into my actual Norfly system from IKEA, so I just needed basically like to reduce it from whatever volts to whatever volts. I think it's only like a 5-volt system, and it's a 12-volt thing for the lights. So basically, I need like a 5 to a 12 reducer, and then I can wire it so that when I hit the lights for the display, the lights in the statues light up too. That's what I'd like to do, but I'm very lazy. But it does look cool because the eyes on the Cat's Lair head that Lino's standing on light up, and then the actual Thundercats emblem lights up. That's on.
Did you have to buy them separate? And they come,
yes.
They kind of
so they're all separate, and they're dioramas.
Like a jigsaw.
Yeah, so they jigsaw lightly, like it's implied. Like you can see where the edges line up, but they're not 100%. You could shove them all together like really tight, and it would just be a little crowded, but it would fit together almost perfectly. The mutants are a little bit less, so so you can kind of rearrange them a little bit because they don't have any very specific edges to line up to each other. What did I do up there? Oh
God, I needed that.
Did you just take a piss?
No, I'm trying to drink water.
Because I saw you get up, go off camera, and then you're like, "Oh, I needed that."
No,
so as though you're taking a piss.
I had something caught my throat, and I just needed a quick water.
I got you.
So
enough about me. Right. I've been talking about me a lot. You talk more about you, Alan.
No, I got to open them Joes today, so I finished. I have 2 full billies and a half billy. I cleaned them, dusted. I did a bit of dusting and rearranging on them. So, all right. So finish my Star Wars. So I've got they're all my Transformers and my two G.I. Joe shells, which I think I've shown you before.
Probably. Oh, here. Okay, I did get a picture. All right, I sent you. I just sent you pictures of He-Man and Thundercats.
I see it. And I finished them today. Oh, and what else today with my training? Fucking, I had a birthday party. I haven't stopped today. Just the kids are always doing something, and school is finishing in 2 weeks. So
So I didn't realize how into MMA you were, or jiu-jitsu, I should say.
Jiu-jitsu. Yeah.
Yeah, like because I was listening to the so-called Off the Mats episode and listening to you talk about that stuff, and you're all like trying to hide your belt color and everything else like that. I thought that was funny. I'm not going to tell you what my color is. You tell me.
Yeah, no. Oh, I'm a purple belt,
Which
I feel
which
like a white belt.
well, give me context for that. Where is that between time and training level?
So I'd be 6 years in.
Okay.
But technically 7 years with 2 COVID years. So it goes white. You have your white belt, you get your 4 stripes. Then you go blue belts, then you got 4 stripes. Then you go to purple belt, then you go 4 stripes. Then you go brown belt, 4 stripes. And then you go black belt.
Gotcha. So you're kind of in the middle-ish.
Yes, I'm in the middle.
Middle rank. Well, that's cool. Yeah, because
it's the hard. For me, it's the hardest. I wish to have. I wish to be sober, talking this Dante, because I feel like where I don't know. I can't remember the other guy's name. I was going to call him his nickname Peanut.
Peanut, yeah.
It's Tyler.
It's Tyler.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was he did train, and his story kind of cool but kind of strange for me because it's not the way I'd know how you train.
And hearing about that, like it was a similar thing. So when I was with my ex, you know, she had a little daughter, right? And we wanted to get her into something to, you know, teach discipline and everything else like that. And there was a local, whichever type of martial arts it was, well, not karate. I don't know exactly. I think it was
martial arts.
It was just some type of martial arts, but it wasn't wrestling or anything else like that. It was straight up, you know, kicking, punching, whatever. Whichever discipline it technically was, I don't recall. All I know is they wanted a lot of money, and honestly, it came down to for them, it was literally how many classes did you come to? Like they never did what we would consider real testing, like to level up. It was like, oh, you've been here for 3 weeks? Cool, here's your next belt. It was like, it didn't matter what you've fucking learned, as long as you've come to every class, you know, the twice a week class for the last 3 weeks, you move up. And you could go to competitions and that would rank you faster, but the thing is that if you can't afford to go to the competition, you know, because all of that shit was paid for. You know, it's like you got to pay however much per week. You got to pay however much for this. You got to pay for all the gear. You got to pay for all. And we're not talking like for me to do it. We're not talking about for her. We're talking about for the little girl to do it. We bought all the equipment, like every fucking thing, the fucking weapons, all the pads, all that shit, the fucking gym bag, all that shit, and basically could only really afford to manage, I think, like a month. And then, like, as soon as she didn't get to go to the first competition, now she's way behind everyone else at her level.
Yeah,
by belt, anyways.
So our kind of ranking system is, our professor is quite well known in Ireland, and he'd be quite well known in Europe. I think he's a 5-time European champion. His resume is quite, you know,
nice.
It's a good resume. So he pretty much has a standard. If you put in your time at the start at a white belt, you get your stripes. But you could be waiting nearly a year and a half, 2 years, even 3 years or longer to get your blue belt. You know what I mean? Things don't come easy. Like when I got my purple belt in there before Christmas, I was like, yeah, I don't want this.
Like, no, don't need the purple. No, thank you.
You know what I mean? Like, but he believes that you are good enough, and it's coming from such a high level of a person that thinks, yes, you are. You know, he's a good judge of character in that kind of a promotion way, which is a good thing to have. But for a coach to kind of go, oh, you're going to come for 6 classes, there's your belt. It's for me, it's very strange.
Especially without any like real testing. Like, I mean, I get it for like literal beginners, fine. Like if you're at the literal bottom level and you can at least remember the the certain steps, the numbered steps or whatever you want to call it.
Well,
Pose.
for beginners, you kind of know. So the classes that I train 2 days a week just because of my life with my kids, and I do 3 classes each day, Monday and Wednesday. And the first class is a beginner class. Technically, I shouldn't need to go there, but I like going there because you work on your fundamentals.
Yeah,
that's what you need to.
Fundamentals are important.
You need to fine tune them, and I get a lot of new people, and you can see the people that have started from their day one to where they are now, maybe 6 months, a year down the line. You can see the progress, so you know they're getting it. For the first few weeks, first 2 months is, are you actually willing to see if you're learning something, even if it's one thing?
Yeah.
You're picking it up. Well, everyone is different at learning. Everyone learns in their own. You know what I mean? Like if I was to go here, build this table, are you going to make it in 20 minutes or are you going to make it in 2 hours? Because I don't know how you work. You could be a slow worker, making sure everything's built in a certain way. That's how people learn. So that's how people train. Some people pick it up. Some people take their time. I like to take my time. And I wish I was a white belt. I had more fun.
Well, I mean, at some point you can do some coaching, and then you can feel like you're with the white belt again.
I kind of do. I cover some of the lads kind of sometimes when they're on holiday, or if there's one of the teachers is off. I'm one of the people on the list because I'll bring, like, especially for the kids, I'll bring my daughter, and it's good fun.
Yeah,
and like helping in the beginner classes is good fun as well, because, as I said, you tune on your fundamentals and you get to help.
You get to help other people learn for sure. Because listening to listening to Off the Mats, especially when Dante
drunk edition,
not that one in particular, but like the ones where he's actually talking to other people, especially the one he posted just the other day with the other guy who also has an ostomy bag. So somebody else who also has a similar limitation. Even though it doesn't stop him from doing the thing, you'd think it would, basically. So to hear them talking about it and listening to just, because I have some coworkers who were also into jiu-jitsu, and other ones who were just more broader type MMA stuff, not just rolling, but like part of me wants to just give it a try, but like I don't know, like because you've been doing it 7 years, give or take. Right.
Yeah, I started.
So you started at 33.
I was 34.
Yeah, give or take. Yeah.
Yeah, 38.
So to start at 40, I know people do it, but like just if I have someone who's already there, like someone who could bring me in, for whatever, the introductory thing, that would be one thing. Like just walking into a gym with nobody I fucking know, that would be the part that would not get me in the door, but having a friend or somebody would.
The biggest nod to anyone, even if it's a competition, is actually turning up. If you even went for one class to give it a go, that's a big achievement. It's like for your first competition, if you had a competition for your first time and you had one fight, lost,
it's still more than anyone who doesn't do it. Yeah, exactly. I heard you guys say that repeatedly.
Loads of people just go, oh yeah, I want to do it, but they don't step up and actually try. Yeah. It's not for everyone.
No,
you know what I mean. Like my flexibility is, like, some of the guys that I'm trained with are super flexible.
Yeah.
I'm not as flexible as them.
I'm not either. Never have been.
It's not a big deal.
I mean, okay,
it's good. It's good exercise.
Yeah, that was the thing for me, was actually just getting kind of full body workouts, really. Not to mention you have to kind of train otherwise, not just on the mat, but otherwise, to keep your body in shape, not just going out there like some schlub. You got to get some type of other exercise in, right? And something that I need to work on.
No, it's good. It's also good for your mental health
Mm,
because there's a lot of there's a lot of different people in there, and like when I met Dante, he's likes collecting. He likes comic books. We liked beer. Would have loved. I could have chatted to him for I don't know so much time than we did
mm-hmm.
because we had a lot of things. He liked American football. Okay, he's a Lions fan, but what are you going to do about that?
Yeah.
I don't know, but there's so many different people that come in the doors. Some stay, some don't, and there is a not a big, but there is a certain collectors, that kind of nerd kind of culture that's in it. There's a bit of other cultures as well that I'm not going to speak of, but
No, yeah, for sure.
the culture that I'm in, you are as well, as collecting
Mm-hmm.
comic books, nerdy movies or shows.
Yeah.
There are people there that you can just perfect example there tonight. When the lads, Johnny, was like, oh, you're looking forward to the Flash. Started talking about the Flash, oh, when he goes to and just kind of having a bit of a nerd talk or geek
Mm-hmm.
talk, whatever you want to call it. No one's going to make fun of us because fucking he's a black belt and I'm a purple belt. So it's like, yeah, what are you going to say? Fuck you.
It's like, what's that now? Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
Well, it's funny you say that. You talk about other people who a broad range of whatever type of culture they're in, right? And
Mm-hmm.
this used to be part of the motto of the old SHOKY Nerdcast. Can't even say the name of my own show. And the motto was, you don't have to be a nerd for everything, but everyone is a nerd for something.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter what it is, because nerd doesn't mean this. It just means
Mm-hmm.
that it is. I mean, like, people also equate geek. Like, when people say they geek out about things, it's like, it doesn't mean because you like something from sci-fi, you don't, things like that, or toys or whatever. It's like, you're a nerd. It's like gaining knowledge and being super interested in something to the point that you devote time and effort to it. That's nerding.
Yes.
So you have BJJ nerds. It's like,
Yeah.
that's all they do. That is their fucking life. Like,
I think we mentioned it. It's like, I can't remember who fucking said it. It's like that in that podcast. It's like hobbyists,
yes.
and then there's the BJJ nerds that like watch the fights. So I turned on my lights. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. It's actually good.
Um, like there's loads of different nerds. Like you could call gardeners sometimes nerds, but they're not.
But the thing is, they're a nerd for their thing. Like, that's the thing.
Exactly.
It's like, it's whatever your thing is, whether it's a broad range thing. Like me, I'm kind of more a broad nerd, but I really like more specific things, which clearly I pared down my collection to reflect the things I'm more nerd about, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then, like, it doesn't matter what it is. Like, you could just love movies, like, not a particular type of movie. You are just a cinephile. That is a nerd thing. Like, you love the way movies are made. You love everything about that process. You learn, like, anything you've spent an exorbitant amount of time studying, and I don't mean in school, but I mean in life. That's that. I mean, I could probably say I'm probably a bigger Power Rangers nerd, technically speaking, because I have a buttload of the comics, more than anything else that I've got. I've got more of the figures, more than likely. I mean, NECA's getting there, but like, I've collected Power Rangers for longer than anything else I've done. Like, I've got a good bit of Transformers, but this is kind of it. Like, but Power Rangers as a whole thing over there. NECA's more spread out, but I've got a bunch of their stuff. I have more anime stuff over here, but things that I actually bother to care about, But like, the same way, like, podcasting, some people are podcast nerds. It's just, that's their time, their effort, their thing. You got the diorama nerds. You got that's their thing. They just want to build and design dioramas. They don't care about the rest of it. They want to make this cool thing this one way.
You've also got gym nerds, like they just want to.
Oh, gym rats, yeah, specifically, yeah.
Gym rats, gym nerds, whatever,
Beefheads, whatever you want to call them for that. I mean, I'm also a car guy too, for that same reason. I love cars. Like I said, when I'm a broad range nerd, I'm pretty like broad. Like, I don't necessarily specialize, but there's things where I will go really deep, in my love for, in the interests. you know, and then like some of them wane over time, and then some of them never go away. You know, that's just how it is.
I think that's a good nerd to have your horizon more open.
I always feel like I can talk to anybody about anything because I'm also like politically I'm more down the middle. Like, so I can talk about issues on both sides when it comes to shit usually. You know, try to have a big middle understanding. So when Dante and I talked, like, so even though I was on Off the Mats, we didn't talk about jiu-jitsu, not really.
Jiu-jitsu.
But I talked about my history of watching the UFC and like what I called its heyday in the late 2000s. So through work, I knew people who would have the fight nights on, and I was watching what was it called? Ultimate Fighter. You know, when Ultimate Fighter came on, I was watching that. You know, couldn't follow anybody really. It was the early days of MySpace, basically. But like, I'm keeping up with these fights. Like, I don't care about the stats, but I'm there for my fighter. You know, and I have my favorite people.
That's when UFC, I think, was easier to watch. I think there was only 4 weight categories, maybe 5, and it was easier to go. Yeah, I like him, and he's my fighter. But now they've opened it up to everything.
Well, there's so many more people doing it too. You know, it's like comparatively, like you basically had like a pool of like 40 people, like men and women basically, who were in the UFC one way or the other. You know, then you had people coming over from like Pride and stuff like that. You know, but and the other types of more violent, not TV friendly fighting. And you could tell when it was their first time in the UFC because they wouldn't stop doing shit. You know, the ref is pulling them off. Yeah, like, you know, because I'm talking about like when Chuck Liddell's rise to fame basically is when I started watching that kind of shit. And I always talked about like Frank Mir was my dude back then. You know, watching Rashad Evans come up and beating the fuck out of everyone and then taking over champions until he fought Rampage, and Rampage beat the fuck out of him after that season of Ultimate Fighter. I was like, that was great. And like, but it was basically, it was a more real version of wrestling, like normal WWE, WWF stuff. Like, we watch people beat the fuck out of each other every week, sometimes 3 times a week for years on end with a story behind it. But the UFC, the only story we got, which was mostly real, was Ultimate Fighter. You know, so that was one of the few reality TV shows that felt kind of real, because if you didn't train, you got your ass whooped that week. You know,
I think that's coming back, and I think McGregor.
I think so. Oh, geez.
Yeah, no,
that'll be fun. And you get the characters too. That's the thing. Like, you could tell when somebody, like, wrestling clearly an act. UFC fighters, no, those are just characters. Like, and I don't mean fake, but a lot, especially McGregor. He's this big bombastic dude. Well, small bombastic dude, technically speaking. But like, and then you see him dressed up in a suit and he's just talking normal outside of the ring, and you're just like, he's like, no, this is the fake. You know, it's Bruce Wayne and Batman. It's like he's actually Colin when he's in the thing. It's like, but out here, it's his Bruce Wayne suit. You know.
Yeah, that's pretty much kind of it. Like, you've got this image you've got to give out, and he wants to be larger than life. So look, everyone has their persona they want to put out there, and that's his. Like, my favorite fighter of all time was GSP, and he was
GSP is so reserved. Like,
I
was thinking about him earlier.
Calculated.
Yeah, and I remember him when he came back. Like, he didn't retire, but he left for a while, and then he came back.
His contract was up.
Oh, it was a contract? Okay. Forgot why he left.
If that's the time we talked about, like, he
probably like 2009.
That was a contract thing.
Yeah. So I remember he was fantastic to watch. Him and John Jones and those guys. Like, John Jones, Jesus Christ, the reach on that guy. Like, you just reach a halfway across the octagon and just smack the fuck out of you and then pull back and you can't do shit. You know? And I love, like, I used to love really mismatched fights. Like, it's really fucked up, but you see somebody who clearly has like a 10-inch reach advantage, and they're striking. Like, you got somebody who's gonna be a wrestler. He needs to take them down, but he can't even get inside that fucking reach. And when somebody throws a fucking heel kick out there, and it's like, oh god, no. It's like
there you go. Speaking of McGregor versus Aldo, so many people had Aldo, experience. He's going to do this to him. It was over in 13 seconds with one punch.
Yeah. And you could just do that sometimes. Like, it's not everyone. And and then you got these guys like, was it McGregor went into boxing and fought, what's his face?
Mayweather.
Yeah, Mayweather. And fine. And then you've got the fucking Paul brothers who are playing at both things at the same time.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're assholes, but they're skilled athletes. That's the one thing. It's like, you want to hate them, but then they're actually kind of good at what they're doing.
The thing is that they've got so much time on their hands.
Do they, though? I mean, like...
What are they doing? They've made millions of money.
Yeah, they just make money they make money from their money is what they do.
Yeah, exactly. If you had their money, what would you do?
Definitely not what they do. But that's the difference between us. We're not business minded.
You would do something.
I would do something. Yeah, I wouldn't be doing that.
Yeah, you could get into movies, get into.
I probably would be doing more podcasting if I was doing anything.
The brain thinks.
I would afford a podcast group that could actually make it.
Well, you're making it.
It's just been a bad couple weeks, and just nobody has open schedule. Like it's like maybe one person. Nobody has my schedule, which is fine. I've got a really wide open schedule, so it makes it easier. But it's not always easy on other people. Like I want to have other people on, like Paik and TM Reviews. I want to have them come on, but they're really only available on the weekends. Like so, I'd have to find whatever late night weekend show to bring them on. Like Pinkerton, he's got whatever schedule he's going to be having soon with his new thing. So, and obviously I don't want to interfere if he's got to have a Nerd Rage day or something like that. That might be his only day off. So, but then Joe, I've had Joe on a couple times, just depending.
Really?
Yeah. We had Joe on episode 9, I believe it was. But I talked to Joe before that, in the old podcast. It was closer to an interview more than a thing, but we talked for 5 fucking hours that day. I split it into 2.
I would have loved to met Joe because actually I need to meet someone / find someone that can speak fucking Japanese.
Yeah. Well, I think Krista's your better bet there.
Oh really?
Yeah, I think Krista's better at speaking it and reading it. I think Joe's okay, but not in the same. But I'm pretty sure he's admitted that Krista's better.
How does Chris know Japanese?
No, Krista, his wife.
Oh, okay. It's like Chris.
Yeah, there are too many Chris's there. But no, actually the irony is I bet Kelly, Chris's wife, is probably better because she watches so much anime. And I only got to talk to her briefly while I was at their house. When we went to go pick everyone else up to go to Eternia Dreams. And so it was taking forever for somebody to get ready. I think it was Dave was taking forever to get ready. And so I got the tour. I got the whole Crashbox tour. I got to see, Chris's collection and stuff like that. I got to see the Chugs and Detolfs, which does actually look really good the way he's done it. And I was instructed to tell Bobby that it is good and it looks fine. And I did eventually. But I got to see that, and then very briefly got to talk to Kelly about her anime collection as we were going out the door. And then at the party, I didn't get to talk to her because she's got some social anxiety, like my wife, kind of. I guess she just can't handle a big crowd. So that's why she left at some point.
I don't think I saw her at all.
Yeah. So the whole crew came in all at once, and I believe she was in her own car because that night everybody got picked up by Mason. So I think she took the main car, left everybody there to party, and then Mason picked everyone else up that night. But I would have liked to talk to her a bit more about anime because she was she geeks out about that kind of stuff. Is great. She's got a cool anime statue collection.
I had a brief whiskey conversation with Chris. I gave him I had 2 kind of files. I think I gave you a smell. I gave him one, but I didn't realize he was actually into whiskey.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they ever drank it, so I asked him a question. My nerd questions this week was, did he try it? And have you ever ordered anything from Takara Tomy directly? Have you?
I've not, no. Sorry, I was burping.
Because the prices in Japan, when you buy directly from there, is a lot cheaper.
Oh, yeah. for sure.
Well, it's just it's harder to understand because everything is Japanese, and if you convert it into Japanese, it doesn't read right. It doesn't make sense if you're trying to translate it.
This is weird. So, side note here. I have to make sure I mark that. So I'm getting my medical bills from when I was in the hospital.
Oh.
And so I paid off, I guess, the first round of imaging because it didn't cost that much. And then I got the ER bill, which wasn't that much, but I went ahead and set it up to pay.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got the actual hospital bill. But because I don't know if that's for everything or if that's for a very specific thing, because there's no itemized thing for it. It just says you owe us this much money, which is less than expected, but more than I'd like to be in debt right now. But I just got another one from the same thing. So I'm like, what is this for? But there's no link like the last time. So they're sending me a paper copy, but I already paid that, so I'm not sure what that one is. And, well, it could be the second round of imaging, and they're just charging it separate. Like, you think because you're in one big-ass building, you'd think that all the bills go through whatever. No, every department bills you separately, apparently.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, so let me see here. I should have started. Where is it? Oh, I deleted it because I paid for it. Okay, so that is a new one. So I always get a little worried to make sure that it is legit before I click on something, Because, scam emails are so fucking bad.
Oh, tell me about it.
Let me see here. No, that says... Yeah, that looks like a pretty legit email. I always check these things. And that's a local number, so that makes sense. I wonder if that was that weird 888 number that called me yesterday. Because I don't answer fucking anything that's not a phone number I recognize,
Yeah, same.
Yeah. But as you were saying, ordering directly from Japan does tend to be cheaper. I've ordered some stuff. So when I was in Gundam stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
To order directly from Bandai was a giant pain. Because we're here in America. So you have to go, especially once the Bluefin merger happened, it really made things complicated. Because Bluefin was a distributor for all Bandai products here, and then they did the actual merger, so they were basically one company. That really fucked things up for like a year and a half, and then it got better. But after that, getting premium Bandai products became easier because they opened up an actual premium Bandai USA store. So to get premium Bandai products was usually double the cost from the actual Japanese thing. So you'd pay out the ass to get it here, especially model kits, for instance, So you'd have to go through whatever U.S. retailer, say BBTS or whatever model, say Gundam Planet was a place I did a lot of business. And if they could get it, they would have a small allotment, and it would still be double the actual price. So when the P Bandai store opened, all of those numbers shut way down on the other retailers because you could now buy it directly from Bandai and at the regular cost. So a normal model kit, well, hell, I got one right here, literally. So this one, which I didn't have this kit specifically, but this is an example of one. Does it have the... Yeah, so this one would be 2,100 yen. Give or take $22 American in Japan. But that same kit bought through an American retailer was going to be $45 minimum. Probably would be more. And so the bigger the kit, the more cost. So once the P Bandai store opened up and you could order direct, oh my God, the savings was ridiculous. The shipping wasn't terrible either because the shipping costs hadn't gone through the roof. Because now they had direct distribution. They didn't have to go through something else because now the U.S. distributor was part and parcel to Bandai. So now the shipping, you didn't have to pay double the shipping because you didn't have to get the import and all this other shit. They're shipping to themselves, basically, and then they just ship it out like it's a U.S.-based company. So it actually was significantly better. But only recently, bringing up ordering stuff from Japan, I only recently started buying stuff from SHOKY You know, I know a lot of guys here in the U.S. buy stuff there because the prices are so much cheaper. You know. But yeah,
Check that out. Yeah.
huh?
I must check them out. Shozy.
Yeah. I'm not sure what it's like to ship to Europe, but you know, I'm assuming it'll be, you know, decent. Gotcha. Alan's earbuds died. Oh no, our audio is gonna go to shit.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's all good.
My earbuds died.
It happens.
Although,
it's okay. We could wrap up soon. Let's see how long we've been going. Yeah, we've been going for 2 hours, so I mean we can wrap up shortly because it's also getting late-ish for you.
yeah, it's 12:20. I think I hear one of the kids waking.
Damn kids.
But do you know what the funniest thing was? So, you saw Chris's collection. I got to see Joe's collection.
Oh, you got to go over there.
Yeah. So Jaina, she was looking after the cats, and Bobby was like, "Do you want to go with her to help her with the cats?" She was like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" So I kind of got to potter around and look for fur balls while looking at his collection.
Nice.
I'd love to see the dummies do a review of his collection.
That would be interesting. Like, because I know that over the years it's gotten better, and Bobby hasn't done a DMH cribs for him in probably like 4 years.
Yeah, it's a long time.
Yeah.
But there's some things that I found funny is like he's got characters that stand like this, but then he's got smaller characters behind them. I was like, why would you do that? Like, there's no shelf,
no risers,
riser. It's literally one tall figure, small figure. It's like,
I assume there's a reason because like, Joe knows better, but I'm sure that if much like with Bobby's collection, when sometimes things are wonky, it's just because it hasn't been taken care of. You know, like we saw that with the Catwoman that was leaning up against the glass in the pod.
Oh no, this wasn't like that.
No, but I'm saying like there's something that you know that is wonky, but you just kind of let it go like forever. You know, that's what I'm saying. It's like maybe it's just something that Joe just doesn't care enough to fix. Or it's for a specific reason. You don't know. I really would have loved to have met Joe, and like, you know, personally, I would have loved to have just worked out in their gym for like a couple hours just for fun, just to say I did it, because their gym is so awesome.
Yeah, his gym is fantastic.
Yeah,
and that's where he streams.
Yes, I know. The
Terrible
Hime. Yep, the Terrible Hime channel. Yep.
Terrible He-Man?
Hime. Yeah, actually, I think they changed the name. I could be wrong. Remember there being an update. So, Hime is just princess, you know, in Japanese. So Terrible Hime. So, and then he has Cyphus54 is his channel, but I don't know if he's been doing much streaming lately. Well, obviously not while they were in Japan, but yeah, I know they're home now, but I haven't talked to him since I got back. And I don't know if was he on the newest Nerd Rage or no? Okay, so I hadn't listened yet. Like,
worth to listen.
Well, because I do have access to the early release of Nerd Rage, but I don't listen to it before we record because I don't want to. Because God knows if we'll talk about the same shit. Because half the time we do, but I also don't want to hear their opinions on things if we're going to talk about the same thing. So, you know, normally we would record on Monday or Tuesday, so that's usually when Nerd Rage would drop on Patreon. So, then I would listen after the fact. Usually I would listen to it on Saturdays while I was at work, but I've got so many other shows I'm listening to right now, so I just mix Nerd Rage in when I get a chance. So, yeah, so it is what it is. So I'll definitely check that out by all means, and I would love to have Joe back on as soon as possible because I like talking to Joe. He's so chill.
If you get the opportunity, you can tell him I'd like to have a talk.
Sure, we should. I mean, I think I could swing it to where we could have two people on here at the same time. Maybe, I don't know. I couldn't manage it the last 2 weeks, so I mean, it's like,
pull some strings.
I'm gonna move. Like, I'm gonna add you now to our normal group chat, like just because you've been more reliable than everyone else.
It's me. I'm pretty much okay. It's notice.
Yeah. I know. Like, and yesterday was like, I literally was just trying to get an episode done. Like, I'm going to have to do what minimal editing I'll do to this one to get it out for the patrons tomorrow, maybe, and then
How many
get it up
patrons do you
for
have?
10.
Oh.
Yeah. So just in there for most of them are there for the one channel, which actually that's what we're doing tonight, doing reaction requests. So
Okay, cool.
but usually those turn into us just talking. Like we'll start out with like watching some videos together, and then we'll just end up bullshitting for like an hour.
Nice. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's just I don't have a whole while I have a lot of free time, I have specific things I have to do on specific days. So it's like I have to find the one day of the week I can be consistent, and that's usually Wednesday night. So, and then last week had to move it to Tuesday because that's when I recorded with Dante. So, yep. So it was a mess, but it's fine. I like my patrons; they're fun people. Like,
cool.
and to put faces and voices to people that were only just words on a screen is actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of which. Speaking of which, there's one of them right now. We're playing. Where's the wifey? The wifey has not. She must not have left work yet. I don't have to cook for her. So basically, like as soon as she tells me she's coming home, I'm gonna go get dinner ready, and then like basically come in here, set up for the the thing later. So I was just like, sit here, talk to you, and then pop into there, and then pop back in here, basically. But I do appreciate you being able to jump in and talk with me.
Anytime. As I said, it's more notice.
Yeah. Hey, and normally you'd have plenty of notice, but this is like, we can't even fucking record at all. It's like, I just got to find someone who's available at some point. So next time it'll be a different story. I mean, and like, if you ever just want to come on, let me know. Just hit me up and we'll make it happen. That's not a problem. Like you don't have to wait for me to call you. If you got some shit you want to bring up and talk about, by all means.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'd if I'm free, I'm pretty much always free. It's just more.
Yeah, I mean, like because I'm so the only place I am actually flexible is on my schedule. It's like can't bend my legs for the shit, but I can move my schedule around. So like even if it's on a weekend or something like that, and we can get different cast members on, that's even more fun. It's like, I talk to Rikki a lot. It's like so having other people to talk to sometimes is nice. And like I want to get Sean. I want to get Sean on more, but he's really only available like Sundays. So that's a very specific day that we have to.
Sean.
He's Sean Love. He's the one who does custom painted Transformers and stuff like that for Bobby.
Yes,
and a few other guys. Yes. So he was one of my original co-hosts. So it was me, him, and Mike is where we started.
Okay.
And then Sean had to leave. That's how Rikki came in. And then Mike had to leave. That's how Dormammu came in. And then Dormammu falling out is how we got Rusty. So and now I have 5 co-hosts that can't be here on any given day.
It's like
I love you guys, but it's like I'm gonna have to bump Alan up to show regular instead of extra guest.
Special guest.
Yeah, special guest Alan. It's like you're only special because you're coming from an entirely different country. Because Canada doesn't count. Canada is America's hat.
Yeah. You don't have to do giveaways. Answer a question, you might get a free toy.
There you go. That's it.
Dear patrons.
Exactly. Because they get to sit here. They get to see your guns. You gotta show them off.
My white, red.
Bro, like
you nearly got to see something that you shouldn't have seen.
Look at your arm versus my arm. The tan line. Like yours is more prominent because it's really red right now. This is my normal tan line. No. Hold on. I can't get my leg up that high. But I've got, my wife calls it my 5-color leg. So I've got my shorts line. I have the fade between my shorts and my knee. And then I have the hard boot line. Like right down there. So like my calf to my upper knee is like really tan. And then everything else is white as balls. Literally. And it's hairy. So either way, that's a perfect spot to end. So no inner thighs. Nobody's paying for that. That's not a level of the Patreon. So either way, guys, I didn't do any of the normal shout outs early on. So, of course, you can follow me at all the Shoki related things that are in the description down below. Rikki has his thing he does on Fridays with the Realm of Collectors called the Rome Hatton Project. So they got a special guest coming on this week, apparently. So go check that out. Mike is at the Comic Relief Crusader if you feel like following anything he does. And, of course, we have the Rusty Mechanic, who hasn't been on in a little while because his work has been crazy busy and racing season has kicked up, too. So he's going to be very busy on the weekends driving around parking lots in his Mini Cooper. So, yeah, he does autocross or whatever we call it. Motocross, whatever. So, and then what else? Alan, do they have anything they should follow? You don't really do it. You don't have.
No, you can follow me. Fucking.
Where you
For
pop
you,
up. Yeah.
Bobby.
Yeah, there you go. So you can see Alan here, and then occasionally with Nerd Rage stuff. So and BJJ. So you need to do some more episodes with Dante on Off the Mats.
If he's game.
Yeah, I mean,
if you want to do them with us, you can learn.
I mean, either way. I mean, like it's like when you guys get to the nerding part, I'm gonna just be sitting out like it's fine. It's like I'm talking to Dante about weird sci-fi nonsense, and you guys can talk about actual jiu-jitsu. But
and nerdy stuff.
And nerdy stuff, just basic nerdy stuff. Like literally, the whole episode we're doing tomorrow is going to be all about time travel shit because we didn't get to it. We got to multiverse, we got to all kinds of other crazy stuff. I told him about my universe hopping. I told a whole bunch of shit. Like in the last episode, we did like 3 hours. So like probably like he goes late though. Like that's the thing.
Really?
So it's going to be super late for you unless it's on a weekend. So either way.
I'll let you go, and if you see him tomorrow, tell him I said hello.
Oh, I will for sure.
I'm fucking. But my bed is calling me.
It's calling you. I'm sure that's the only thing. Be like, Alan.
No.
Alan.
My kids were on the radio there a few minutes ago. So. No.
What do they call you? What do your kids call you?
Daddy.
They call you Daddy? Okay. I don't know. It's like that's an interesting conversation. What do you call your parents? What do your kids call you? We'll have that another day. So either way. So with that, guys. Okay, bye.
Peace out.
You gotta say okay, bye, Alan. You can't say peace out.
Okay, bye.
That's not our thing.
I see her rolling up, Uber black Cadillac, high heel boots and a sexy body full of tats.